What is the weirdest thing you had to do at someone else's house because of their culture/religion? Went to a friend's house for dinner, a lovely meal. The whole family cleaned their plates of food, then turned them over and ate dessert on the back of their plates like it was the most normal thing in the world. I copied them just to be polite. I worked for a rental car company in an Orthodox Jewish community. A customer rushed in on a Friday evening and asked to be driven home immediately because if we didn't make it to his house by sundown, he would have to get out of the car and walk the rest of the way due to the Sabbath. He used an app on his phone to tell him the exact time of sundown each day. I didn't have a driver available, so I just told him to go home and I'll come by his house later to grab the car. A half hour later I arrive at his house. Husband is nowhere to be found, and the following scenario ensues with his wife. My husband left the keys on our bedside table and I'm not allowed to touch them. Can you come in and grab them, please? I awkwardly follow her into her bedroom and grab them from the bedside table. Can I ask one more favor? Do you mind unplugging the house for me? I then follow her into her basement and enter a room where there are literally 15 to 20 different electrical cords coming through holes in the walls and ceiling. And through a tangled series of different outlet strips are all consolidated into one master plug going into a standard wall outlet. She points at it and asks me to unplug it. I do. She thanks me. I leave. I had a lot of wild experiences in 5 years working that job. This one was definitely top 5. I grew up in a town that was predominantly white. Whenever my parents had guests from church over for food, my Indian stepdad would end grace with, "And please God, let me wake up white tomorrow," and my entire pasty white Scottish family would nod in agreement and say amen. The guests would never know how to react. We'd act like it was a normal occurrence and never bring it up again. This might be my favorite one here. The mental image of a family flipping their plates over to eat dessert is absolutely hilarious. We got yelled at for playing that devil game again. We were playing Mario Kart. And Bowser kept freaking his mom out. So we muted it and all was fine from then on. Meanwhile, his little brother was literally playing Diablo 2 at the time in the same room. But he already had it muted, so it wasn't a problem, I guess. Correct. They can't adjust fire on the Sabbath. So they asked a Gentile to do it for them. There are limitations on that as well. I had a good friend whose family were wealthy and very big on some weird sort of gift giving. Basically, there were 2 things. You could not give them a present, no gifts at birthdays, Christmas, etc. If you gave them a gift, they would either politely refuse or donate it. You always received a gift if you went to their house, even if it was for an afternoon. I remember going to my friend's house when I was 8 or 9, 1998/1999, and them giving me a PlayStation, and each time I went over they'd give me a new game. Which continued until they gave me a Nintendo GameCube. Very weird, and it wasn't because I was poor, we lived in the same area, etc. This recently repeated itself when I visited my friend's house, now lives with his own family. And when I was leaving, his wife was trying to give me a bottle of scotch and my daughter a fucking Nintendo Switch. Edit. They were Middle Eastern, not really sure what religion. His dad was a property developer and investor. This was in Australia, Sydney. It just felt awkward after a while. I am reminded of the story on Reddit where a girl went to her boyfriend's parents' house to meet them, and they had a ritual where they gather around a table and savagely consume an entire orange, skin and all. She didn't do it, and she upset the entire family. I think it's my favorite story from Reddit. When I lived in Antwerp, Belgium, I once was stopped by an elderly woman on the street. She was asking for help inside her house. Guiding me through a house where the temperature was way too hot, she stopped at every radiator and asked me to turn them down. In the end, we went to the kitchen, where some Jewish women and children were watching me silently while I was putting all the burning gas stoves on a low heat. Then she showed me out, thanked me and closed the door. In Antwerp there is a big community of Hasidic Jews. I can imagine this was during Sabbath. Not on what they can ask, but more how they ask. Officially, they can't ask outright, but they can hint at it to be done. This way, it's not as though they directly caused something to be done which they are not allowed to, but rather the non-Jew did it themselves. In one of her comments in the thread she says she gets people who cut oranges into sections and eat the peel with the sections, just not eating the whole orange like an apple, and I'm just like, what planet am I living on? You don't eat the peel. Like animals won't even eat the orange peel. There is no nutritional value. I have chickens. They will eat almost anything. They will not eat an orange peel ever. The family is weird for eating the peel, and she is weird for even entertaining the idea, which she also does multiple times in that thread. Like the whole post is made because she is second-guessing herself about not eating an orange peel for an entire big-ass orange. Like, what? Late to the game, but here goes. I had a friend growing up whose parents didn't allow any snacks in the house. Every time he invited me over to spend the night, I was expected to bring boxes of snack food because it could be allowed if brought in by an outsider. And yes, his parents would partake, too. So there was junior high school aged Hige Stash bringing boxes of snacks for an entire family to have a cheat night at my expense.